was in the radio booth one day and was just stumbling upon records, and I'm going through the 45s and realizing, wow, that's a B-side. And then looking at the A-side, songs like "I Will Survive" was a B-side.
Yes.
To the A-side, "Substitute" by Gloria Gaynor. The Righteous Brothers' "Unchained Melody" was a B-side, and then "Rock Around the Clock" was a B-side. I'm seeing all these B-sides. I'm thinking, wow, these were hits. There was no internet back then in the early 90s. I had no way but just to talk to veteran radio broadcasters and friends of mine. It's like, why are these things like? And they would tell me stories about how all these radio DJs years ago would flip these records over because they'd be listening to them in queue and discover these hidden gems. So throughout the 90s, I'm going through with my own terminology, and I would say things to myself like, I'm going to B-side that. I'm going to B-side that. And I just use it as my own self-improvement mechanism and just as a way for me to get better. So I would get involved in these little projects or, these radio remotes or things with my business, my DJ business. And I would just tell myself I'm B-siding it. And I use it as a personal self-improvement tool for like 20 years before I ever came out with the seminar back in, I think, 2010, when I decided, maybe this is something that people could use to share with them. I never gave it much thought, but I started doing that. It's kind of cool. People like it. So,
yeah, for those of you, we're going to just take a step back because I know we've got some younger people. B-side is on 45s. This is
didn't think of that.
This is an album.
Yeah.
I mean, we're really going to go here.
Yeah.
Now, this is the way music used to be.
We used to play music on these things, you guys. It's really cool stuff.
Yeah. William, just for you, I put up a country album tonight.
Oh, yay. Which one?
Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Oh, I love country.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I can't. I've got the wrong glasses on to see. I'm going to have to put that
I'm old school. I come from the old days of vinyl. And when I started my DJ business back in 1990, I was literally spinning vinyl, but I don't know how to beat mix. I was literally playing the record and then playing the next record. Didn't do the scratch and I still don't know how to do that stuff.
Yeah, I would have been that type of DJ, and then MJ this past summer started basically getting on me, and yes, now I can go. I was basically just doing the slam type beat mixing and hitting it on the one as he refers to it. Right. But you watch some of these guys and their skills, and I just keep telling myself my skill is on the microphone.
Right.
That's what I do, and I do very well. When I have a microphone in front of a crowd, I can capture them. I can bring them together. We can share a moment through what I'm experiencing, and I'm directing the traffic and things. I can do that.
Right.
These, blending one song into the other and doing that consistently. Yeah, that's not my gift.
Yeah, my first company, I had the slogan, "It's like hiring a radio station for the evening," and literally that was it, because I would just play it like a radio station would. Just blending from one, segueing from one song to the other. But I never got the skill to beat mix, never knew how. But I guess if anything else, I really appreciate the people who can do that because they're masters, they're artists, they're great at it. But I'm on this side of the fence can prove that, yeah, you can have a successful DJ company without doing that. You just develop other skills. And that's what I did. I just B-side all kinds of unique things. And that's what my business has been known for over the years is I do the weird stuff. I do the really unique things, stuff that nobody else does that I B-sided. So
very much so. Yeah, there are different ways. And that's one of the conversations we have is what works for one may not work for another. As much as we'd like to say, oh, this is the formula that will work for everyone. It doesn't work that.
That's right.
You mentioned that back when you were doing that kind of the radio station early on, and that was kind of the angle we did in our early marketing. Also, was that concept. Were you getting on the microphone and doing the announcements between songs like we did?
Yeah. I got to tell you a story here because I know a lot of your listeners know the guy I'm going to mention here in a minute. But I would do that. I would say, and back in the 90s, it was all right, that was music from Michael Bolton coming up next. And here's a crying through your cocktail hour. So it would be, I did a lot of the radio DJ voices. I thought that was the thing that sold me because they were hiring a radio personalities. But it wasn't until, I think it was 2006 when I did my first love story workshop with Mark Farrell that he got me out of that radio DJ voice on the microphone. He says, "What the hell are you doing?"
I can see Mark saying that.
This has been my shtick for 16 years. This is what I do. He goes, no. So he sat me down. He mentored me great. And we talked a lot about voice and this sort of thing. I went through his workshop. And what I learned in that seminar was really a turning point. because that was the very first time anybody ever sat me down and told me that my voice is a tool that could be used many different ways. And through him, I learned that I can make people sigh, cry, cheer. I could bring out all these emotions in the audience simply by the inflection of my voice and what I say and how I say it. And I never knew that. I'm thinking, oh, that was the big light bulb. It was like, I can make people cry. Yes. All right, cool. And that, I thought that was really neat. Like I could really bring emotion. I didn't know I could do that. And it's all done through your voice. And
we grew up listening to that FM radio, the DJ on the FM radio, and they would be doing that big voice. Hey, everyone, we're going to be listening to some of the hot hits tonight. Call in with your requests, that kind of thing. So when Mark came and he mentioned that, the very first time I heard him say that was really the first time I had heard anyone talk about that in the DJ industry. Coming out of a teaching realm as an elementary teacher, that kind of concept was in the teaching and the demonstration that I had there of talking to the children and talking, engaging with the kids and such, and doing it in a pleasant manner, which I kind of adopted that a little bit. But really, the time with Mark in his MC workshop kind of pounded that into one's psyche a little bit. That all right, everybody, let's put those hands in the air. You don't need to do that.
Well, and think of it this way too: as someone who's done that for 16 years and so programmed to talk like that. It's a bitter pill to swallow. It's like, no, you got to switch it up. You can't be doing that all the time, Larry. And I said, well, it works. He goes, no, it can work so much better. And that's when my business skyrocketed, when I started doing the stuff he told me to do, and convinced me that, no, there's a better way. But yeah, it's a bitter pill to swallow when anybody, and whether it's on the mic or it's DJ skills or how you present your business or anything in marketing and sales, when you're so accustomed to doing one thing a certain way and somebody comes along and dangles the carrot out there and says, listen, try this. And that's what my new seminar coming up at RMDJ is going to be all about as well, is to try something different, trying to find a different way to do something. So it's B-siding.
And I think in this day and age that having to try something new is so critical, because as Jared's with us tonight. Hey, Jared, thanks for jumping on here. Jared is on with us Wednesday night talking about social media world, and things are changing so quickly in all aspects of what we do that we have to be open to trying and looking at things, because our clients, that they grow up with things that what they did 6 months ago, they would think they're not even going to give it the time of day today.
Right. No, it's tough. Yeah, keep up with the times. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just such a crazy thing, and even as we look in our small town, as we're watching some of the businesses, and we have some businesses that are closing, some that are opening up, and different things are going on, and people, oh man, I can't believe that's happened, or this one's closing, and this restaurant that's been there forever, they shut it down. Why did I hope it opens up again? It's like things change, and there's an evolution to it, and
there is.
We can't sit and lament the loss of one thing, because we have to be prepared and looking forward to taking advantage of an opportunity that's going to be coming as business people, or else we'll be the next on the chopping block.
Yeah. Well, it is still very much a recession out there, and that's where we need to be more creative. And I heard you speaking with Ron Ruth about being inspirational and where inspiration and creativity come from. And that's how you're going to set your business apart from the rest. I mean, Walmart comes to town, and a lot of small businesses fear it, and they get crazy at the city council meetings, because things are the bike shops and the baby clothing stores and the auto parts stores, they all think they're going to knock us right out of business because they always sell by the lowest price.
Right.
Lowest price is not what you got to worry about. The ones, when a Walmart comes to town or anything like that, the ones who succeed are the ones who are different and unique and vested in their community. So the more unique and different you can be in your DJ business, the more, you're going to stand out. And anybody can, play music and make announcements to some degree, sometimes bad, sometimes good. But the important thing is that you're different. Be as different as you can, be as individual as you can. And the more you'll stand out from the competition, the more demand there'll be for your service.
I want to hold that thought about being different and such. Somebody asked about, is there an audiobook version of your books?
Not yet.
Okay.
I got to find somebody with a good voice to do that.
Well, 16 years ago.
Develop your B-sides. I never did an audiobook. I probably should. That'd probably be a nice little project for me to do. But so I got the customer service A to Z. Let me show you that one.
Yeah, please.
Customer service A to Z. That's the one that started it all, with the forward by my buddy Dick Clark.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah, Dick Clark did the forward for that book. And then that was 2011. The good thing about this one is I wrote it about customer service skill sets that are traditional in style, and it's basically a refresher course on all things customer service. And since it's kind of rudimentary in that fact, it hasn't gone out of style. There's nothing dated in this book since it came out in 2011. It's still very much applicable in every page of it. And then B-Sides was kind of my own little pet thing that I've, like I said, been having in my mind for 20 years, and decided, well, maybe some DJs could be helped with that. So it's turned out really nice.
Cool. Okay, now before that question, I wanted to remember you were talking about. This is why sometimes I take notes.
That's okay.
We were talking
the seminar. There was that.
Yeah, we were talking about the seminar, and I wanted to talk about something about. It was along the lines of customization. I forgot the angle in which I wanted to go into that.
Okay.
Yep. We'll have to move on.
It'll hit you.
It'll come back to me, and I apologize. I generally remember these things, but
okay.
So I get distracted and such. And
that's perfectly fine.
So you'll be at the. Let's dig into the seminar then a little bit more.
ARM DJs 10.0.
Yeah, coming up quickly. Summer is just about here. You've spoken at ARM DJs a number of times.
5 times, either 5 or 6, and I might hold the record as the one guy who's come back more often than anybody. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because they got sick of me after about 3 or 4 years. I'll guarantee you that. But so I've stayed away for the last few years. It's like too much of Larry Williams is just, it's not cool. So, but I had some fun. I actually, started off the very first ARM DJs. I was the very first presenter. So I kicked the whole thing off with my Changing Public Perception seminar back. I want to say it was 2009 or was it 2008? It was way back.
It must
have been 2008 since we're 2007 now, or 2017. So yeah, 2008, I did Changing Public Perception, and I followed with B-Sides. Then I did the worst seminar of all time, which was, it was like B-Sides Reloaded or something. It was something where this vision that me and Robbie had was to do a live B-Sides thing in the audience. And I think they got some content and some great ideas out of it. But boy, I was really uncomfortable. I was like, I don't even like this. It was a terrible seminar. But anyway, so I did some customer service stuff when the book came out after 2011. I did the rehearsal dinner revenue seminar the last time I was there 3 or 4 years ago. And now, of course, I've got the training DVD on it. We'll talk about that a little later. But so this one is pretty new. This is a brand spanking new subject. I have waited 10 years. This was in my mind 10 years ago, 2007 to be exact, when I had this idea. And I will be happy to unveil it if you're ready.
Yeah, I think we are.
This is the big reveal, because nobody knows about it. There's like 2 or 3 people that actually know the name of this seminar. Okay. So about 10 years ago, I got this idea from a DJ friend of mine in Sacramento. Okay. And he shadowed me at an event. And that's all I thought it was. I thought it was just a typical shadow. We shadow each other all the time.
Yeah.
I shadow, he shadows me, you shadow people and they shadow you. And it's just people hanging around at your event.
Yeah.
But what I didn't know was going to happen is 2 weeks later, this guy gives me a 10-page shadow report.
Oh my goodness.
and I, at first I was saying, what the hell is this? And I'm looking at it. Oh my God. But no, he was ripping me a new one. I mean, and we're friends. We're friends, right? His name is Matthew Strong, by the way. Great guy out of Sacramento. Mm-hmm. Anyways, he was really giving me heavy critique and praise where necessary as well. But he wasn't holding back. And I didn't ask him for any of this. He just did it and gave me this thing. And to this day, that is probably the best information that I've used to structure my performances around of anything I've learned. We go to these conferences, they're all great. We get little nuggets, but some of the best stuff, I think you'll agree, is in the hallways, right?
Yes.
So if you can't attend conferences like this week at Mobile Beat, I know there's some people that can't go and they're watching this right now. You can get a lot of great information that can help your business based upon colleagues in your own area. You can see what they're doing right. You can see what they're doing wrong. If you have a good communication with them and you're upfront and you can, be honest with them and be honest with yourself as well, that can be some of the stuff that turns your business around and takes it to the stratosphere. So my seminar that I've been working on for a couple of years, been wanting to do this for 10 years, I'm ready to reveal it. It's going to be called 5 o'clock shadow. Time to clean up your act. 5 o'clock shadow. Time to clean up your act. Well, 5 o'clock is about the time we all do our events, right?
Introductions and such. Exactly.
It's shadowing with a purpose. And I'm going to give people a shadow program that they can follow with their friends and other business colleagues. And they'll be able to have a 5-star shadow program. Just like, in customer service or wherever else, you award 5 stars for this, and, 2 or 3 stars means you're not doing really good. It's going to be a whole way of listing a lot of things and what to look for. And I've broken it down into 5 categories. It'll be appearance, preparation, customer service, personalization, and performance. And it'll be a give and take. You're going to want to look at things from an observational standpoint and offer observations and recommendations and this sort of thing. So I'm laying it all out for people at Armed DJs 10.0. And again, shadowing with a purpose. It's giving people the idea to get out there and shadow more and be with your friends and agree on, I'm going to let you shadow me and I'm going to let you critique me. It won't be at the event. We don't do any shadowing or any critiquing at the event, but they'll be taking notes. And then you meet for lunch a couple weeks later and you present them with this, shadow report. And boy, I think people are going to see their businesses really, improve in many areas, because having another set of eyes looking at it is a customer set of eyes. Yes. Think of it that way. And this is your friend, a customer who's going to tell you what they see. Whereas, most shadowing is not that full of critique. This is a little bit more in depth with it, and you're agreeing to it ahead of time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's something I said when Matthew gave me this, report 10 years ago. There's still things to this day that are on that I just go, yeah, I can't believe, I've been doing that, all those years beforehand, and now I do it differently. And it's everything. It's from your speaker cords to, the way you present, the way you walk out on the dance floor with a microphone.
Yes.
All these little nuances that he was very upfront about. And I got to tell you, back when this was going on, back in 2007, the summer of 2007, my application was being worked on in Wed Guild. So, here I am, trying to reach the upper echelon of the DJ industry with certification with Wed Guild. And he's critiquing me, and I'm going, oh, dear Lord, I got a lot of stuff to do. Because really, but that's the thing. I don't think we ever arrive. We never arrive at perfection. And I love what Mike Walter, who I think is just, oh my gosh, amazing. Mike Walter to me is like an amazingly brilliant guy.
Yeah.
Completely honest. One of the rock stars of our industry. And he did a thing recently with a wedding with Mike Walter. Now, if you ever saw that, but it's a flash drive kind of thing where you kind of are, shadowing or watching what he's doing for 4 hours. And probably one of the most giving people in the industry. The content this guy comes up with is just off the charts.
Yeah.
I love what he did. And this is a way now to where, you're going to watch that and you're going to see what Mike Walter does. But now you can actually take a program that I've created and break it down into 5 categories and go out there and shadow anybody, share with them, and you'll get a give and take. It'll help you, the shadower, and it'll help the person that's being shadowed. And there's nothing like it in our industry. So.
Yeah, there really isn't. And that is a great to have that tool to go into it, because otherwise, as someone who has done observation of other people, whether it's been in the DJ industry or in the teaching world, because I did some work with student teachers, there's things that there's lines where you can go to and you can talk about these things. So they're doing this wrong, they're doing this wrong. But there's a point where you can become too nitpicky, if that makes sense.
Right.
And you can get to the point where you might be starting to hurt feelings, and having some guidelines where you're saying it's kind of a 1 to 5 type of an area with the comments to that is going to help that. So you're not looking at it. One area I found when I had someone come with me is they were struggling in a couple of areas. They're like, we couldn't find anything wrong, but we wanted to give we wanted to make some kind of a suggestion. So we started digging and making a much more out of something that was tiny than it probably needed to be or was and such. And
Right.
and they're like, this is really tough.
Yeah, but it's like what Randy says. Randy Bartlett. 1% is only 1%. That 1% change can make all the difference in the world.
Oh, for
so
sure.
You don't have to worry about things being egregiously bad or wrong. But if you can have a colleague pick out a little nuance or a little something, small thing that you're saying or doing or presenting, or maybe in your planning or preparation, maybe on your timeline or itinerary you put together, that can make your job or life easier and make it more pleasing for your guests and customers. I mean, it's huge.
Oh,
it's
yes.
huge. So, I've learned so many things from different people I've shadowed over the years, and I've never taken these kind of extensive notes as I have now in this program that I put together. And I really think that, it helps the person because the person who's shadowing is paying so much more attention to the detail. Because you just normally when you shadow, I'm happy to be here. Let's see how the tour goes. Let's see what he's playing. No, now you're paying attention to detail, and you'll reflect back on what you're doing at your own gig next week. It's like, you know what? I'm watching my buddy do this, but maybe I could do something a little bit better. So you're reflecting upon yourself because you're being more detailed, you're being more nitpicky, and you're helping your colleague at the same time. And that observations and recommendations that he's going to get from you, he or she is going to get from you, that they're going to hopefully take to heart. The most important thing is honesty. You have a good rapport with the person you're doing it with, and it's confidential.
Yep.
I have little, disclaimers and things like that that's in the shadow report. It's not meant for anybody else's eyes or ears. It's just between you and that person. Confidentiality and nothing to be shared. Though there is one really cool thing that I put in the shadow report, and that's a public quote. So at the very front of the shadow report, there'll be a public quote, a quote from your colleague that you can use publicly if you want. So that sort of thing. But mostly it's all confidential between you and the person you're shadowing. And it's not just for DJs. It could be for anybody in the wedding industry. This could be, I hope for this to be, used by coordinators or florists or anybody else in the wedding industry who shadows one another. Now it's shadowing with a purpose. It's shadowing with direction and, a real intent, to find some areas of improvement, to find some observations that, how things might be, perceived, by guests and wedding vendors and that sort of thing. And we've never tried that in our industry. So why not? So it was a B-side for me.
Yeah, it would be. If someone asked you, came up to you and said, hey, Larry, can you come and shadow me this weekend? And I would like to get some feedback on your show. You're a wedding DJ. And if they were doing a completely different type of event, is that something that you would be, do you think that you could still give some valuable feedback? Say if you've never been involved with a teen dance or, just as an example, and they're asking for you to come and give feedback. I mean, are you still able to go and give feedback because you've been involved with the shadowing process before?
I think so. And now there are going to be areas of expertise. And even when I give this seminar to RMDJs, I talk a lot about weddings. I mean, that's 90% of my business.
Yeah.
But literally, I mean, I could walk into a teen dance on stage while a teen dance is going on. So I'd rather be way in the background for that. But certainly there's things that I can observe that I would think would help another DJ, whether it be, and that's why I broke it down like this. I broke it down into appearance, and that's not just, your setup, but it's personal appearance as well. It's everything from grooming to setup attire to professional attire, and when you're on stage to the gear and the lighting and the cords and the bags that are under the table or laying way behind. It's the appearance, the overall appearance of the setup. So there's a whole lot of things in appearance that can be looked at. So you don't have to know, teen dances per se to have a good look at appearance. And the same is true with customer service and the preparation and that sort of thing as well. So, and then we get to personalization and performance. There's many things that, I could look at. I don't care if it's a corporate event or a teen dance. And you're right. I'm not going to be an expert on teen dances. I would not be able to look at well, you played this song, you should have followed it with this, or you should have. Wait, I don't know the new music that well anymore. So there are areas I would be deficient in. But for the most part, I think most colleagues who are professional can step in and observe. And then, if nothing else, you're observing like a guest. You're seeing what a guest sees. You see somebody on their cell phone too much, you'll be able to tell your colleague, "Hey, that cell phone should be out of view." We shouldn't be able to see that as a guest. So there are things.
Will, with your checklist and things you're putting together, your program you're putting together, will it be something that, say, a I don't want to say a non-DJ, but maybe someone who isn't at the level that you are, that maybe somebody who's more of a, they've been around DJs a little bit and they have an idea of what goes on. Is it a tool they could use to give a feedback on it? Or does it need to be someone who has?
I think if you're just entering the business, it might be a little bit harder to shadow somebody and give critique. However, if you are new to the business and you invite somebody to shadow you, as long as you're open to the critique, as long as you're able to listen to honest feedback, I think, again, both people will benefit. But yeah, hopefully newcomers to the profession will understand they're picking stuff up from you. They're picking stuff up from, Brian Red. They're picking stuff up from different YouTube videos and other people as well, that, everybody's, I'd like to think that everybody's trying to learn a little something. So yeah, if you can get them into the shadow thing to say, let me shadow you or you shadow me. I think it would be a little bit more difficult for somebody just starting out to shadow somebody and offer critique. But, if they're dedicated, they can observe just like a guest would,
And sometimes I've had younger DJs, when I've been training over the years, I've had them come with to watch and observe and to be an assistant and such. And sometimes just their questions. So why did you do it that way? What was that? And it's like, I don't know why I did it that way. It's the habit. They're like, right. Oh, I was just kind of curious because it just seemed kind of, a little different and maybe right. It would work better. And it's like, I probably learned more in some ways when I was training staff and observing what they're doing. You mentioned earlier watching their performance and making notes and saying, oh yeah, I like how they did that, or I don't like how they did that. And I do the same thing. Whoa, this is really, I got to change that.
Yeah, it is on the job training.
Yeah,
it literally is.
Yeah,
and the weird thing that I still can't figure out to this day, I'm going to have to call Matthew and have a conversation with him, is how did he remember all this? Because I saw him taking no notes. He wasn't on his cell phone jotting things down. I don't know if he had a little memo recorder, but to give me a 10-page shadow report of everything he observed is like, wow. And there was some scathing stuff in there. He got me on a few things like, why do you do that? What was that all about? He even told me, he said, lose the radio DJ voice during the cake cutting. What's wrong with you? I was like, yeah, I didn't know I was doing it. I thought remember this 2007. It was a year after I met Mark Farrell, or did train with Mark Farrell. So as a matter of, I thought I toned that stuff down.
But it's still there.
Yeah, it's still there. So, you can always pick up something, but it's cool. And our industry has nothing like it. We have no sort of, template, to go in there and shadow people with. And now we do. It's going to work.
Yeah. Neat. And of course that will be your ARM, what you'll be doing at ARM DJ.
Yep.
Let's talk about rehearsal dinner.
Yeah.
This is something that, when did you start talking about that one?
This has been about, gosh, I want to say maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
Was it that? I was thinking 4 or 5.
It was the late 2000s. I was at a Mobile Beat conference, and I bought one of the GSS 3000 game show podium things from Game Show Mania, Creative Imagineering. And I bought this 4-player podium. It was 2 players here, 2 players here. And I brought it home. It was a ton of money. I thought, I'm going to do more corporate stuff. Got it home, never did anything with it, didn't market, totally procrastinated, sat in my garage for a year. I thought, you know what, I got to do something with this thing. So about that time, I was a wedding entertainment director. Okay, so I learned a lot about, being the director and directing ceremonies and things along those lines. And I thought, there's real money to be made here in ceremonies if you could put together something that would work. And for years, I tried this in the 90s, putting together a little karaoke party for the bridal party, a little dance party. But nobody ever bought it. Nobody ever gave a rip about it. And I think a lot of DJs, and as I've done this seminar and workshops and stuff over the years, a lot of DJs have done the same thing. They want to put together a little rehearsal party. It's a little dance thing or karaoke thing, and it never sells.
Yep.
It always falls flat on its face. So I really sat down and B-sided this. I thought, what can I do that I could put together a package that would actually make some midweek money? So I brought in one of those game show units because there was 2 units, 2 players each. I thought, I wonder if one podium would work independent of the other. And I plugged it in my living room, turned it on. I was like, oh, it works. It scores. It does the whole thing. The microphones come on. It all works independently. I don't have to use 4 players. I can use 2. Then I started thinking, okay, bridesmaids, groomsmen. Why don't we put them up against one another in a family feud style fashion to do a game show? So I came up with the bride and groom trivia challenge. We put the bridesmaids up against the groomsmen, each mom up against each other, the dads as well, and find out who knows more about the bride and groom. And it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious because when you're a game show host, and this is the difference, you're not a DJ. You got to take yourself out of DJ mode. You're a totally different kind of person behind a microphone. So when I'm the rehearsal dinner revenue training program is 3 components. Part 1 is doing the ceremony walkthrough, and it's how to direct the ceremony walkthrough, learning everything a wedding coordinator would know on how to direct a ceremony walkthrough. Then there's part 2, and I'll get to that in a second. Part 2 is an after dinner oration. And then the third part is the game show stuff I was talking about. So I put together this game show and putting all these bridesmaids and groomsmen up each other. And again, when you're a game show host, you don't have to entertain. You just have to speak the words, and there's little nuances and little things you could say to be a little bit funny or whatnot. But the stars, just like a karaoke show, the stars are the contestants. Yeah. And when you have that mindset, and I learned that from Bob Eubanks and Chuck Woolery and these people, is the let them be the stars. It's their moment to shine. When they get up to the podiums and they start doing, when you ask a question of who knows more about, the bride or the groom, and they start buzzing in, people are yelling out the answers. They're yelling out wrong answers. They do curse a little bit. They walk up to the podium with their beer. It's a very relaxed environment.
Yeah.
So there should be nothing educational or stressful about a rehearsal. So the way I got it broken down is you go to the rehearsal dinner for an hour to do the ceremony walkthrough. So you do the ceremony walkthrough first for about an hour. And sometimes you're waiting for 20 minutes for one person. The actual walkthrough does not take a full hour.
Right.
But it's about 1 hour of your time. And then afterwards, we go to the restaurant where everybody sits down, for dinner. I let them be a family. I step back. I don't do anything. Just let them be a family and talk and that sort of thing. After dinner, I'll give a 10 or 15 minute after dinner oration where I'll share tips and techniques on how these people, the members of the bridal party, can be great ambassadors for the wedding. Because I've actually researched this, and the bridesmaids and groomsmen have a role in every wedding. Their role is to be the ambassadors and help out where needed. So I'm going through all these tips and techniques, giving the bridesmaids, groomsmen, best man, maid of honor ideas on how they can maximize the wedding tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So I'm literally giving them an idea. It's also a great place to point out, the toasting, we'll only, we want to keep it down to a couple minutes, keep it clean, hold the microphone up here.
This way, yes.
Stuff like that. Read your toast if you have to. It's okay. You don't have to memorize it. I give tips and techniques that way. But I share all this stuff with the bridal party. So what do you think is going to happen when I'm telling everybody to keep your toast clean and the best man or somebody else gets up there and tries to do a risque roast? Well, I've warned him in front of all his family and friends, but I've done it in a nice, friendly way. So we make it fun. We make it light. We make it, kind of jovial. But I give them all these tips and techniques on how they could be great ambassadors. And I'll tell you what, when you tell your bridal party, right in front of family and friends, because I'll tell you, a rehearsal party dinner, I've done these things with as many as 125 people.
Ooh. Oh,
rehearsal dinners are not just the bridal party.
Wow.
Because if they got aunts and uncles visiting from out of town, people arriving a couple days beforehand, they come all down to the rehearsal dinner. They got families of the bridesmaids and groomsmen too. So usually a rehearsal dinner's got 30, 40, 50 people. Because they invite, they don't say, stay at your hotel, we'll see you at the wedding tomorrow. They're telling these people coming in from out of town and close family members, come to our rehearsal dinner. Mm-hmm. And they're all, they're in T-shirts and flip-flops, and it's very casual oftentimes. But it's a place where it could be jovial and fun, not too educational. You got to make it fun and entertaining. But when I do this after dinner oration, I'm sharing all these tips and techniques. The wedding the next day, oh my gosh, you've got people doing things that is just maximizing that wedding to the fullest. And it's really cool to see, because now you got bridesmaids and helping people over to the photo booth. You've got groomsmen walking people over to the guest book. You've got people filling up your dance floor, because I tell them, if the dance floor is going quiet, grab a few people, bring them out to the dance floor. If you see, Aunt Joanne sitting over there by herself, go there and talk to her. Mm-hmm. You've got people working on behalf of the bride and groom that are now your generals in the field, doing all these cool things. And then we get to the game show stuff. We do the bride and groom trivia challenge, which lasts about a half hour or 40 minutes, depending on how many people in the bridal party. And it's hilarious. And then I wrap it up with the shoe game, the pre-newlywed game, I call it, where we put them back to back, bride and groom, and we share a few things. So when I go to the wedding the next day, you've got people backslapping you and say, oh my gosh, we had so much fun. You got other people going, what happened? Everyone's talking about this rehearsal dinner. And you're basically now friends with the entire bridal party, with all the family. You're like an old family friend when you go there to DJ the wedding. Now, when I sell these rehearsal dinner packages, I sell them anywhere from $250 to as much as $800, all depending upon the package they buy, time of year, and that sort of thing.
Right.
And I've got DJs all across the United States now that are running with this package that they've learned from my training courses on how to put together a rehearsal dinner package that works. It's midweek money, and no, you're not going to make as much as you would a wedding, but you don't have to bring as much. It's not as much vested time either. Yeah. But it's great. It's great money for a Thursday or a Friday or a Wednesday sometimes, to go out there and make $250 or $500 for 3 hours of work.
Yeah.
And it's not really work. You don't have to bring a sound system unless you want to bring a little powered speaker to go with your little game show. You can bring little buttons, or you can bring a whole game show unit. It's up to you. You don't have to bring a lot of equipment. Yeah. You're dressed in a suit and tie. You can just be a little casual and just be professional. Yeah. And I get all the tips and techniques on how to do that. But it's a cool thing.
Yeah, very cool. I did a slight version of that probably about 5 years ago. And I think it maybe a little longer than that, because I did that, and then I heard that you had come out with this shortly after. That's what I was thinking. It was about 5 years ago when it came to my radar. And it's like, I thought to myself, what is it? Because it was great, as you said. The thing that was probably that stood out the most was the next day at the wedding, and the way the wedding party were paying attention to your announcements. And I didn't do the 10 minutes. I mean, you've got a formal process that you put together, which sounds absolutely fabulous. I just kind of stumbled into this.
Right.
But the connection you made with the wedding party, so that the next day when you're talking is, oh my gosh, they were, as you say, they were your ambassadors, and that wasn't even me really doing it like you were doing it. That's cool.
That's the intangible asset, or the intangible goodwill thing going on that you can't put a price on. I mean, like I said, when I do these things and the next day I arrive at the wedding, man, they love you. Everybody is just front. You have warmed yourself up so much with that family and those bridesmaids and groomsmen, and it's just the greatest feeling in the world. The referrals and just like I said, the thank yous and slaps on the back for a great job well done. The parties rock the next day. They rock because you've taken the time to really lay out a plan for these bridesmaids and groomsmen to help out and to get involved. They're not just there to wear a nice dress, and look good. They're there to really be the ambassadors of the celebration. So when I go into that part and I share how to do all this, in the DVD, it really, it makes all the difference in the world. And they make for some of the most fun rehearsal dinner parties you've ever seen.
Yes.
Sometimes rehearsal dinner parties, can be boring if you've ever gone to them. You go through the ceremony walkthrough, you go have dinner, they open a few gifts, have a little couple toasts, and they send on their way. But now you're doing game show fun, and it's hilarious. And they want to relax, and they should relax. The rehearsal dinner is not a day to stress out. You make it fun, you make it relaxing, and everybody's got their hair down. It's a relaxing time for everybody. And by the next day, then it's game on, and it runs a lot more smoothly. So it's cool.
Larry, somebody asked in the chat room about pricing and such of the DVDs. So, and I have some of that information in the link, but I want you to go through it.
Okay. So the DVD came out last year. Okay. It lists for $159. Okay. Plus shipping and handling. I ship everything in the U.S. via U.S. priority mail. Okay. So you'll have it within a couple of days. It's a DVD. This is not a seminar. Okay, this is an actual. We got a sound stage and did the whole training DVD. with inserts of actual, ceremony rehearsals and this sort of thing. So it's all, fully done as a professional training DVD. So it's not a seminar on stage. But normally its list price is $159. I've done a special thing just for your folks today that is dropping the price to $119. Okay, so I'm only going to leave it up, I think, for about a week or so. Because I know there's people that watch this
and then watch the recording,
and all that stuff. So I'm going to leave it up there for your listeners and viewers. But normal price is $159. You'll get it for $119 plus shipping and handling. I think it's like $9 shipping and handling. That's $127, $128, something like that. But that's only through PayPal. It's an only through PayPal offer. So if you call me, it's $159. If you go to the website, it'll say $159 plastered all over the place. You got to click the PayPal link. Click the PayPal link. It'll come up as $119 plus the shipping and handling, which is like $9 or so.
Okay, make sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Make sure. Okay, I've got the
link.
It
goes out. Yeah, rehearsaldinnerrevenue.com.
Perfect.
Or on the disc. rehearsaldinnerrevenue.com. And it'll take you right to the page.
So how long did it take you to put all that together? I mean, when you're putting together a training program like that.
Yeah. I did seminars for a long time. And I did workshops over at the Las Vegas DJ show. I did workshops. I did seminars. I was traveling the country talking about this. I hooked up with DigiGames a couple times, and they sponsored some seminars that I did in the East Coast region. And demand just got to be so high. It's like, you know what? I got to put this on a DVD. I was doing personal coaching sessions.
Yeah.
Okay. So besides the seminars and workshops, I was personally coaching people in 2-hour coaching sessions, just like you and I are talking here, that I would do and give them all the details. And by the way, with this DVD as well, you're going to get, I want to say a dozen. It's like 11 or 12 downloadable we call it PDF documents.
Sure.
Downloadable stuff that's going to walk you through everything. It's going to give you all the questions for all the game shows. And there's 2 game shows. Okay. It's going to give you all the questions for those. It's going to give you checklists and stuff that you send to the bride. This is like a turnkey business. I mean, once you get this, you're literally going to have 10 or 12 downloadable documents. That's everything you're ready to roll with. So when you go through this training program and watch it, download the documents, you can start literally putting it on your website, going to your bridal shows and telling your customers, yes, I do rehearsal dinners, and you'll be ready to roll. It'll give you all the marketing materials, all the things you need to do the show, and all the course training to do it as well. So really, it's the whole shebang, in one little deal. So.
And that was something, even talking with Ron, and we mentioned earlier, is that needing that unique selling point, that unique thing, something that sets you apart from the others in your market.
Yeah, I've got DJs across the U.S. that are doing these at their bridal shows because the bridal shows have like 10 or 12 DJs in it.
Yeah,
it's like, well, they'll just set up a booth as rehearsal dinners, and they get people because it's different. Brides are looking for something different, and you don't necessarily have to sell them on this. And most of the people, just a little tip here, most of the people that I sell this to, I sell it to them after the fact. I'm talking about brides, okay, brides and grooms. They book my DJ services. And I'll wait a few weeks before I send them a link. I create a video. I'll show you how to create a video as well for this in the training program. I send them a video link and say, hey, check this out. And then they'll call me and say, oh my gosh, we have to have that. How much is that? So, so they get a great deal because they're already booking my DJ services. So it's like a bundle thing. I give them a discount on it. But it's anytime you can be different. And that's where the creativeness comes. And there's room in this program to add your own personal flair and do a few other things that are creative and unique. Okay, so you don't have to just do it exactly this way, but this is the template that'll get you started making midweek money. Yeah,
exactly. Having a little bit more of a formal plan and the components right there, so you're not having to go research and do all that. You're saving a person a ton of time.
It works in hundreds of DJs across the U.S. and not just DJs, but we're getting wedding coordinators, facility managers, spouses. Spouses are doing this. I've done a lot of seminars and stuff where the spouse says, you know what, she's looking for something to do, or he's looking for something to do. What can we do that's different? It's kind of, we've seen photo booth add-ons, we've seen lighting add-ons and stuff. When you can add on something like this and do it midweek, and just bring in some more money by really providing a really cool service that nobody in your area is doing, it's a great thing. So
cool. Larry, we are out of time, my friend.
Oh, wow.
Our time went zip.
Fun.
Yeah, it does. It does. We didn't even get we had more topics we were going to hit tonight. We'll have to save those for another time.
You bet.
Thank you for being with. All the links we talked about and such are in the description below, gang. So you guys can go check below the YouTube player. Click on that. Go down there, check it out. The link to get to Larry's website's there. Check out the different resources and things. Says U.S. orders only.
Well, okay. I will do Canadian orders and thing, but the shipping cost is going to be different. You'll have to call me on that, and we'll work that out. Because the only thing I got PayPal worked up on is the shipping price for U.S.
Yeah.
So just call me and we'll make it work.
Yeah. So you probably find phone numbers and such are on the website.
They're right there.
Perfect. Yeah.
RehearsalDinnerRevenue.com.
Jason, give him a shout tomorrow, and of course he's probably available yet this evening because he's West Coast at.
Yeah, it is. West Coast here. The sun's still out. So
yeah, exactly.
Hey, John, before we go, can I just say one thing?
Yeah, please.
I've always admired you for what you've done for our industry, and even through the times where things were kind of slow or whatever, there was always John Young there, and I've just always admired your professionalism. And from the newspaper, to now the DJ News Network and the things that you've been doing for the industry for, I don't know how long you've been doing this, 10, 20 years?
Yeah.
It's been a long time. And never really, sat down and broke bread or had dinner or anything else. We see each other passing in the hallways at different conferences. But thank you for having me. And you've just been an inspiration to so many people, and the work that you do for mobile DJs of all types, whether they beginner or, expert or whatever. You've just always been there. You've just been a lightning rod of information and professionalism. And I just want everybody to know how much I appreciate you. And I'm sure I speak for a lot of people around the U.S. for the good work you've done.
Well, thank you, Larry. I definitely appreciate it. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, great. Good times. Gang, we've got to jump. We'll be back here in 10 minutes with our Tuesday or Monday night show. We're going to be talking. We got a couple of guests who are going to be checking in from Las Vegas. So, yeah, we're going to be back in 10 minutes. Larry, once again, thank you much for being on tonight.
All right, thanks, John. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.